This is where the idea of quests comes in. Basically, a quest is a project that you have chosen to prioritize for the next 90 days. It should be meaningful enough to make a real impact on your life if it was completed. It gets daily attention through the morning manifesto because, as we know, as part of our morning manifesto, we're asking ourselves, what were our quarterly quests? So every single day, we are reminding ourselves and actively writing out what our quarterly quests are. That's why quests are important. We track weekly progress for quests in the weekly review. This is quests. And so you start off with a situation where you have like all these different projects, but you end up in a situation where 3 of them become defined as quests. These become your highest priority projects. It's basically the same as a project. It's just we're calling it a quest because we know it's a high priority. It's super, super important. Again, the whole point of the system is we're not trying to do everything because it's impossible to do everything. We're trying to focus on the vital few rather than the unimportant many, or something that Greg McDermott talks about in Essentialism. But even with this system, we still have this problem. Because now we've got these 3 quests, right? And we've got these projects, and we're still trying to make progress across a bunch of different fronts. This is where the final component of the system comes in, and hopefully you can appreciate why I've painstakingly built this up because this is super important. Main quests and side quests. What is a main quest? Your main quest is your headline project for the quarter, the big focus, where we're only allowed 1 main quest for work and 1 main quest in life. This should be your answer to what would make the biggest positive impact this quarter, or in the next 90 days, or in the next 12 weeks, however you want to define it. What is the one thing that, if accomplished, would make everything else easier or irrelevant? If everything else stayed the same, and I just did this one thing, what would that one thing be that would make the most difference in my life? Of course, it would be nice to make progress across everything, but if I had a gun to mine and my family's head, and I had to pick just one project that I was going to seriously advance this quarter, what would that one project be? And this is what gets the majority of our project-focused time and energy. Work, scale business to first 100K quarter, build and launch a mobile product, prepare bedroom for baby arrival, marriage counseling, whatever the thing might be. These are main quests. And your main quest is going to be different for you compared to me, compared to everyone else on this call. Any of these projects could be the main quest. If you're the head of HR or whatever, and your job is to plan the team retreat, planning the team retreat could well be your main quest. That could be the one thing that absolutely positively has to get done this quarter. If you're unemployed and running out of money, get a job might be for your main quest. It might be the one thing that absolutely positively has to get done this quarter. If you're genuinely concerned about an impending nuclear strike, maybe you live in Taiwan, then build my anti-nuclear shelter. That was a bad joke. I went to Taiwan last week. And build my anti-nuclear shelter might be the thing that absolutely positively has to get done. If, I don't know, the wedding is 2 months from now and you're the maid of honor, planning this trip might be your main quest. Whatever the thing might be. What is a side quest? A side quest are supporting projects that complement your main quest. And you're allowed to choose up to 3 for work and 3 for life. These are important, but they're not as critical as your main quest. And these get regular attention, but they're not the primary focus. So, I don't know, streamline client onboarding, develop content calendar, declutter home office, learn Spanish. Like, again, any project could be a side quest for you. It just depends. My side quest is going to be different to yours, it's going to be different to everyone else on the Zoom call. Final concept is the 90-day rule. This is another thing that I'm going to insist on as part of LifeOS. Again, your mileage may vary, but I strongly recommend you follow the 90-day rule. All of our quests, and projects should be able to be completed within 90 days. If a thing will take more than 90 days to complete, I would recommend focusing on what you can actually get done within the 90 days and defining the quest or project based on that. So, what does this look like? For example, if my quest or project was write my book, that is a poor project because it will generally, for most people, take more than 90 days to do. The process of writing a book, for my one, took 3.5 years. That would not make sense to have write my book in my to-do list or my project list. So I would not create a quest or project titled write book. Instead, I would create a project titled submit book proposal because that's a thing that I can actually do in the next 90 days. Once that is done, the next project might be create book outline and table of contents, if that's a 90-day job. It might be more than a 90-day job, in which case it might just be create book outline. It might just be create outline for chapters 1 to 3. Whatever that might be, we want to be focusing it on stuff that can actually be done in the next 90 days. Focusing on the next 90 days for your major initiatives will help you make way more progress than if you try to shoot for longer time horizons, in my experience, smiley face. So what I would recommend is when defining projects and quests, focus on just the stuff in the next 90 days. Anything else, long-term goals, they can be in your future sketch. They can be in your vision board. I'm not going to become a pro martial artist in the next 90 days, which is why my quest for the quarter is not to become pro at martial arts or to get a black belt, God forbid. It's instead to just attend 1 class a week, because I know attending 1 class a week is something that can be done in the next 90 days. In reality, I'd love to be a black belt in Muay Thai or BJJ or whatever at some point, but I'm not going to get a black belt in BJJ on my project list because it's just never going to happen in the next 90 days, right? So this is the 90-day rule. Would really recommend a way to massively reduce stress and massively reduce overwhelm and to keep your list of project manageable is to simply focus on stuff that can only be done in the next 90 days. So we end up with quests, projects, and tasks. We have 1 main quest with a few tasks. We might have 2 side quests with a few tasks. And then we might have a few projects with a few tasks, but there is a clear, and we might have this setup repeated in work and in life. This is kind of what everyone already sort of has. It's just that for most of us, unless you are intentional about your productivity system, we tend not to be very clear on the prioritization because it's actually really, really hard to figure out what's the one thing that most moves the needle. It's super easy to say, well, that thing, and that thing, these 4 things are all equally important, but they're never actually all equally important. There's almost always one thing that moves the needle more than anything else, and that is the thing we define as our main quest. The other 2 can be the side quests, and everything else can just be projects. The way we think about this is that if you got hit by a truck and you were unable to complete the projects, if you got hit by a truck and for whatever reason, you had a stay of execution or whatever, and you were able to do just one thing, complete just one project on that list, the one that would move the needle the most for your life, assuming you survive, this is a bad example, but assuming you survive the truck crash, would be your main quest. It is the single most important thing in work and in life. And so the hierarchy of prioritization is your main quest comes first, your side quests come second, and any projects you have, they're all less important. Again, this feels bad. We don't like prioritizing stuff, but prioritizing stuff, again, is how we get to this thing of making progress on what's truly meaningful, rather than trying to do the fool's errand of trying to do absolutely everything. So we are now going to be spending a few minutes setting our main quests. As a reminder, these are 90-day-ish goals of projects you're committed to achieving in work and life. Each area, work and life, should have one and only one main quest, and these require daily or weekly attention and check-ins, and it represents the major needle-moving achievement for your work or for your life. We did some of this during Spark already. So if you've done this already once, you've had practice of doing it once, feel free to redefine your main quests, because we've had a month since Productivity Spark was about a month ago, and things might have changed. So it's worth redefining these. I had to redefine a couple of mine when I was preparing the session. So the questions we're asking ourselves are, what's the one thing you've accomplished would move the needle the most? Or if you were to fast forward 3 months, what's the one accomplishment that would make you the most proud? Or what's the one thing that would make everything else easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing you've been postponing but would be transformative if you tackled it? Or if I spent the first 2 hours of my workday purely focused on X, it would have an enormous impact on my work. Next, we are going to define our one life main quest. What is the one thing, if accomplished, would bring the most joy, fulfillment, or peace to your personal life? Or if you were to fast forward 3 months, what's the one accomplishment that would make you the most proud? Or what's the one change that would positively impact every other area of your life? Or what's the one thing you've been avoiding but know will have a transformative effect on your relationships or happiness? And finally, if I dedicated 1 hour of each day purely focused on X, it would have a profound impact on my life. What is the thing? And again, it must be able to be done in the next 60 days, because I'm assuming we're working through quarters. But if you feel like doing 90 days, that works too.